So I think what is common between most of us is that we all like the car and we like the road, right? So, I
Yeah.
think it would be absolutely, befitting that we start with what we would do on road trips and which car we would love to take on road trips. Now we could
Yeah.
have multiple, opinions on that, and multiple viewpoints. But I think it's a great start because I think it kind of gels well, right? You want an open road and a car, and it makes you feel very happy with life. And we also realize that it's a great time for friends to spend time together and annoy each other in really interesting places now. We do it on the phone, we do it over WhatsApp. We can annoy each other on interesting locations as well. So just to kind of put it out there, if you guys were given a choice, right, do a drive, what would that be?
Um, okay. I will. I have a number of options. I'm going to start with what's my favorite at the moment. Given that this is a long drive, going to be, I imagine going to places, at least 400, 500 kilometers away, doing 7, 8, 9 hours driving. I would love to have a nice big burly SUV, something that'll just take me anywhere quickly. So for me, it's really the one SUV that really speaks to me is the Ford Endeavor, and not the current, underpowered 2 liter half turbo. They should have brought the bi-turbo, but they didn't. But I'm talking about the older 3.2 liter, 200 bhp, engine variant. So yeah, so for me, the Endeavor just really epitomizes everything that I wanted in an SUV, a full-size SUV, at least by Indian standards. I know it's probably a mid-size SUV when you look at the US or overseas markets, but at least in India, driven it's a fantastic car, amazing power, just pulls. You glide, and it is so easy to drive it. It doesn't feel like a huge SUV. It is just so nimble, so light. The steering is great. My wife, my grandmother can drive it. It's that easy, and it's got some cool tricks up its sleeve.
Talking about the automatic, right?
Yeah, the
Otherwise,
3.280 4x4.
otherwise your granny might not be able to drive it if it's not the automatic.
You don't know my granny.
Okay, okay.
Oh, well, you do. But yeah, no, you get the point. Yeah, so for me, that is it. I think that will be just a fantastic car to drive, take on road trips. Carry the family, carry bags, carry dogs, whatever, and just go anywhere. And the critical thing is, I love to go off not off roading, but just take go off the beating track. Google takes you on all sorts of side roads, so you shouldn't be in a fix. Getting stuck somewhere on a bad road and damaging the chassis of your car or anything like that. So that's why I would choose a ladder and frame vehicle like this.
And I think speaking about India specifically, right? I think we get to see a lot of we get to see first world roads. You get to see third world roads. You get to see roads that are in between the first and third, right? So if you were to think of it as as a driver's car, I mean something that I would love to drive, right? It would have to be an SUV, and it would have to be a an Indian made SUV, right? Because I think a lot of the like Pajero being the exception, but if Ford Endeavor to a certain extent, like you said yourself, it's quite nimble, right? I personally prefer a car that I like to move around, right? Because otherwise, a lot of times these long drives tend to get a little boring when the onboard computers do the work for you, right? Which
Hmm.
I think takes away from the fact that you are driving. It's not more so you are driving. You're just sitting there, and I would say 50% you are a passenger in your own car, right? So I like the Indian SUVs specifically because on a straight, any of your national highways, it's easy. You just sit down, lean behind, relax, and then you can drive. And because of your seating posture, you get to see a lot of you feel a lot confident when you're there. But then the minute you get off that and you go into these state highways, right, and the road gets a little winding, right,
Yeah.
it gets very interesting. And that's, to me, that is essentially the drive. That's where the drive begins, right? And then if there is a ghat in the mix, it gets even better because you I feel that's I keep telling Ritesh this, when as the roads get narrower, I feel I get faster. It's not necessarily a right thing or a nice thing, but it sort of calls out to me, which is what according to me is a good car. So the Safari, the XUV, not the Scorpio, because the Scorpio rolls, if you ask me, like crazy, right? I don't know if you've driven the Force Gurkha. I think that's a beautiful car. You can actually get off the road in that anywhere, right? So these are the three cars that I would love to have, love to drive, especially on a
Nice.
Force
long trip.
Gurkha is a lovely mix because I don't think too many of us have driven it. I had the misfortune of driving it in Delhi when I was there for a while.
It's underpowered.
Oh, yeah, it was terrible. It
it
was
it
terrible.
is it's underpowered. It is not exactly like I said, it's not refined, right? It's got a great engine, but I feel it delivers a lot of torque in the lower ranges, right? So you can hear the engine scream as you again
Grown.
largely depends on groan, yeah, as depending on what kind of surface you're on. But I think it gives you a feeling that you're muscling the car around, not necessarily that it doesn't have to be a refined
That
drive, if
But
you ask me.
do you want to spend 9 hours doing that on a long drive?
uh See, I I can drive, right? I can drive. I have done road trips from Hyderabad to Pune to Bangalore and back to Hyderabad without, I think, with 3 hours of rest in between. So I've done that during
Okay.
college, and I can still do it. I have gone to pick up my mom from Kerala in the morning and come back by evening, right? So I've done things like that. So I can drive. So for me, that's what, so that appeals to me,
Yeah.
and it keeps me going.
Nice. What about you, Ritesh?
it's mixed again, yeah. Like Monu said, I like the refined car, like you mentioned, which is the Endeavor, right? Which does well. It keeps you planted with a little bit of body roll, of course. But yeah, like Monu said, I think it gets a little boring when you have the vehicle doing most of the driving for you. You would like to do that yourself.
Hmm.
So here I would definitely like the manual, right? When on the highways, I would like a manual shift. Right now, the manual shift
Yeah,
can be a Safari, it can be anything, right? It doesn't really have to be a refined vehicle. But again, there are so many things that come into mind when talking about drives, right? So we recently did a drive to Chikmagalur and back, and we went to Baba Burungiri, right up to the view zone or view spot on top. And I was doing it in my Polo, right? The roads were horrendous climbing up, front wheel drive, a lot of wheel spin. But again, once we got down, right, dead of night, right, we probably got down. It was
it's quite dark.
pitch dark,
Hmm.
right? And I don't know what. I think Mono and me both got a little throttle happy on the way down. We just floored it, man, and we were like, like a thread was holding us together. He was driving his Jetta, and I was right behind him, and we did the whole descent in about 25 minutes.
Yeah,
It was a great drive, right? So it really doesn't have to be a massive, big vehicle like you mentioned. It's something that would put a smile on your face, right? The Polo,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I remember
Absolutely.
a great trip that I had immediately after we got married. So Kaus and I drove to Goa. Random, right? We decided on a Thursday afternoon, and Friday morning at 4 o'clock we took off. We did the journey in about 9 hours, and in the whole trip, I think we spoke for about 20 minutes, right? So I hardly even played music, right? So I was just driving. I was in a zone. We did it in about 9 hours. Again, was it the best car to drive? Not really. But was it one of the best drives I've had? Definitely yes. Right? So
Hmm.
for me, it's more about just the car, but it's also the kind of connect that you have sometimes. And then we had an Endeavor drive, right? So talking to the Endeavor.
Hmm.
Again, Goa, where we had a maniac driving. So we had our gonads in our mouth for most of the time. Bugger was weaving like it was Spider-Man, left to right
Oof.
and right to left, and only yeah, horrible. And when I got behind the wheels is when I actually could enjoy the drive. Otherwise, man, it was scary as hell. It's
oh, I
scary as
hate
hell.
that. I hate that. I hate that. Weaving. weaving on the roads, and I see it on the highway, and trust me, and I don't know how, like I won't, I can't, just following the car or looking at the car these kind of drivers on in the car on the highway is scary enough. The late braking, right? Going close to the person in front braking. I mean, like, this is absurd. And the problem is, while our the automobile industry has got better. They've refined more cars, giving more power initially, right? I don't think they're doing anything to a driver. So a guy who drives around, who knows, where the gears are, where the clutches and the accelerators is and all that, right? Thinks he knows how to drive the car on the highway, right? The problem is it's never the case, because there is, I think, a completely different set of guidelines slash, I would say, unwritten rules that one would naturally follow if he or she knew how to drive. And then you see this cab driver type of driving happening on the highway. It is scary. It is really, really scary.
Now,
So I would like
yeah.
to challenge that point of view. Okay. I must confess, I am one of those drivers. I, it depends on my mood. Okay. It really depends on my mood. Sometimes I get into a mood and I will be one of those guys who will be, I don't let anybody overtake me. I do Kanyakumari to Bangalore, nobody overtakes me. And typically 140, 150, that's the speed I go. And, but for me, it's like, uh, it's almost like I think driving is also an art, right? And when you enjoy it, it's your art. It's your style that you bring in, and sure, your style. Some styles could be rash. Some styles can still be fast, but not rash. Now, what is rash is all relative. Okay, my wife thinks I'm rash. I don't think I'm rash. You might think I'm rash. Somebody else may, a race car driver may say, "This guy is tame. He doesn't know how to drive." So to some extent it's all about control, and you can only control probably your car and yourself. You can't control the environment. So yes, there's a risk trade-off there. But when you're on a highway, you've got a nice powerful car, you're belting down the highway, and you've spent all this money to buy a fast car. Why wouldn't you drive it fast? And why wouldn't you drive it aggressively?
No, Sirish, so I think I don't know. I've never seen you drive, right? So I don't know how you drive. But there is a difference between being fast and being batshit crazy, right? So I'm talking about the latter here, where people are. I've seen people going batshit crazy even with cars that aren't fast, right? So I'm talking about
Yeah,
that category. And being batshit
yeah,
crazy doesn't
Correct.
necessarily mean
No,
you're fast.
yeah,
You know what I'm
I'm
yeah.
saying?
going to
So,
butt in here.
uh,
No, I'm going to butt in here. Okay, when you said about the cars that are not particularly fast, honestly, I've had the biggest troubles by guys in 800s or Omnis. Okay, and the Maruti Omni, no, I'm not kidding. Maruti Omni to the brim. Okay, it's bursting at the seams. You have guys with his head out and one of his leg is popping out, and the guy is doing 140. He's doing 140. You don't want to overtake him. You don't want to be behind him, right? You're scared because you don't know what the guy is going to do. You are
Yeah.
petrified. So you literally
He
want to
can't see
downshift.
you.
He can't see me because he's got people behind him. Goats inside. Okay, what shit? It is Omni, and you will find guys like this all around. Okay, now call me opinionated or highly opinionated here. I have seen 8 or 10 guys doing shit on the road driving Hondas. Okay, now this again, this is the fact where the Indian, the aspirational Honda that we always felt, right? Honda. And again, here, right, I have another theory. These are guys who are, driven to office and back in cabs for 5 days. Sixth day in the morning, they've taken their own car and they're on the highway, right? So you can only imagine what happens after
Yeah.
that.
no,
And
so
then and then add a few crazy assholes like you into the mix, right? Who says I bought a fast car? I'm going to floor it straight from Kanyakumari to Jammu. I'm keeping it floored, right? So you have a wonderful mix in the road. So like you say, India has varied cultures.
Yeah.
All that comes down to driving, man. You can actually say, right, this guy is probably from this part of the world when he drives. I'm
so the
not
thing is about both your. It's an interesting observation. Both your Maruti slash Omni category and your Hondas, right? The reason, this is my theory again, doesn't have to be true. my theory is this: basically, those are a lot. It's a lot. It's very light on its wheel. When you've driven a Honda, you know what I
Yeah.
mean, right? So the vehicle moves really fast. Now think about it this way, right? A guy who has probably it's his first car, or maybe it's a car that he's bought after he's had a first car which is not as refined as a Honda. You are obviously going to try and take as much advantage of it as possible, and that is why I think they get extremely heavy footed in the car, and extremely I would say vivo maniacal, if there's a word like that, because the car lets you do it, right? The problem, however, is that with Omni, it's the other issue. You're sitting right in the front, so you can see, you can see literally what's happening below your headlight. So that gives you that false sense of confidence, and you forget that there is a longer body behind you, right?
Correct. And there are brilliant guys who drive from behind also that.
Yeah,
Steering
yeah,
wheel is
yeah, yeah,
they're
yeah,
sitting on.
yeah. And ironically, I've had both. I've had the Omni, I've had the bloody 800. Um, they're very scary cars, if you ask me.
But that's what makes it fun to drive. The thrill factor.
Scary.
Small story there, right? The
Hey,
only
but
time
Ritesh,
I was like,
you've not finished your, you've not told us what car you want on the highway.
oh, what car? Okay, if I had to pick one car, no?
Let's say
Of,
SUVs. Keep it to SUVs for
yeah,
now.
yeah,
We'll go to the
keeping
next.
the SUV only. Of all the cars I've driven so far on the thing, uh, I love the Pajero, man. I know it's a little, you'll
Which
probably have a
one?
completely the the Fieldmaster SFX, right? Definitely not the Pajero Sport. It does have a bit of a body roll, and it kind of, it's a car you want to cruise and not do like really crazy speeds in,
Yeah.
but it's planted. It is planted. It is comfortable driving, right? The short gear
Very.
ratios means that the low end torque is there. It's a brilliant car to drive, and you get stuck, like you said, right? The road ends, no problem. You just
Yeah.
downshift 4x4 and continue on your merry way. So given a choice, uh, reliability being the question again, a little bit of a question mark there. But just for the sheer joy of driving, I would
Yeah.
say it's the
It
old Pajero.
it has. So I've been part of a Pajero owners club, and a big thing that comes out is it has some of the best driving positions. It's very
Absolutely,
comfortable when you drive. Great
absolutely.
seats, great handrest, and it makes all the difference, especially on long drives.
Yep.
Correct.
Um,
Yep.
Correct.
yeah,
You don't feel fatigued in that car,
yeah, yeah. You
right?
don't. Yeah,
People even not, make great time on the road, right? As
yeah,
compared to a hatchback or a sedan, right? You may take about a couple of hours more, but who the hell cares? Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Oh,
journey
yeah.
is all about driving, right? So 2 hours more on the road is better.
And it's got a very comfortable third row as well. Very usable
Yeah.
third rows.
Very usable,
Yeah,
very usable third
yeah,
one, very
Yeah.
usable.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
I
so
mean,
that would be my car, and of course, for all very emotional reasons, it'll also be the Safari because I've driven so much in it and I've driven to places. So again, another car that I would probably swear by. A lot of people have said that it's an unreliable car and stuff. Not once has the car given up on me anywhere,
Okay.
any of the drives, right? So it's a thing, how well you take care of the car and the car will take care of you on the road. So full marks Tata there, full marks. I've never had an issue.
Reliability.
Reliability.
Wow.
no,
I've had
and
with body roll, with not being able to make the corners. Yeah, but that's the car, right? It's a tall car. You can't expect to
Yeah,
go into the corner with 120. You have to break it down. You have to downshift like a dog to bring it down to 60.
yeah.
But yeah, that's it. Mono's driven my car to a lot of places. So even he enjoyed driving it.
in
So
fact, this guy. So the first time around, I think I took the Safari was when we were going to Goa, and he didn't, Bugger here didn't tell me that he had changed the clutch assembly, right? So it is a, huh? It,
let us drive on the way.
so
It,
it is a brand new clutch assembly in the Safari, and I've taken it to Goa. While getting into, I mean, like till Goa, it didn't bother me because obviously, you're not shifting so much on the highway. But then you get that ghat section as as you
yeah,
get closer to Goa, and then we entered Goa from through Karwar, so we entered through Palalim, and then we drove up all the
yeah.
way through Goa, right? Jesus Christ! I had my left leg, which is I think 1.5 times size bigger than the right one, because the number of times I had to clutch up and down. And this guy didn't tell me a word. He didn't say a word about it.
Driving a Safari is like a full body workout.
Full body workout, no doubt about
Full
that.
body,
No doubt
right?
about
So at the end of it, all you have to do after a long drive is, just stretch your hand back and pull something from the back seats. So you also work your rotator cuff as well, right? Because the stretch is so far behind, so you're completely stretched. All you have to do is a
So,
hot bath, a good drink, probably a nice glass of wine or some nice scotch. Brilliant sleep. Brilliant.
so I'd taken his safari and gone to I think Kerala once to pick up my mom, I suppose, so mom and sister, something like that. So this is as you cross Salem and then you're cutting to Kerala, right? There's this nice long Hebal type of flyover that you get there. I mean, like about 5 times bigger than this one here, where you get this nice. I think it's a gradual left-hander, right? And it's spread over about a kilometer, right? So you can actually floor the car there. I mean, when I say floor, I mean you can take the turn with a lot of
Speed.
carrying a lot of speed. Yeah. So I did that in his Safari, and I think I would safely say I clocked about 80, 90, right, without losing confidence.
Yeah.
Coincidentally, I think a year later, I did the same trip in a Scorpio, and I still remember that. By the time I hit 60, I could feel the back starting to move, fishtail, gradually, right? And that's when I realized that, the Safari, all said and done, like people have given Tata so much bad press for their vehicles over these years, right? But in terms of reliability, in terms of durability, and then you add a mix of the driving pleasure, pure driving pleasure. And in the case of
Yeah.
Safari, people sitting with you, they don't feel tired either, right?
Yeah.
Keeping all that in mind, I think they phenomenally. I think they were much better than a lot of other cars, but nobody really wanted to see past the fact that Tata. It's
Zone
not,
Betadas. Yeah.
it's not, it's
Yeah.
not.
My memories of a Safari. I have this friend who is one of those lunatic drivers, and he had a Safari, and he doesn't care road surface, however bad it is, he'll still go at 80, 90. And I was
Absolutely.
surprised how smoothly, the suspension was so good. It was just absorbing everything. We were about 5, 6 of us in the car, and with all the beating he was giving it, and I know how rash he drives, but still, got back into the city, it still drove smoothly, no issue. So that was the first time I started realizing, okay, there's something here, there's something about this vehicle that has taken a
Yeah.
beating from this guy.
No,
Yeah.
and then sorry. In fact, the other day we were a relative of mine was trying to pick up one of these so-called compact SUVs, right? And I was trying to
Nice,
tell him. Say that
no,
again.
nice word. Compact. Two words, but compact SUV.
SUV. So, and I was
Damn good.
trying to, and I was trying to tell him that listen, if that's your zone, why don't you look at the Tata? Why don't you look at the Tata Nexon? It's a
Hmm.
beautiful car, right? It's safe. I've driven it. You
5-star
in
NCAP rating as well, right?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
And when you drive the car, you realize that you have that the seating posture. From your seating posture to the axis, your control axis, right?
Hmm.
You don't really have to look at the dash or look at where your fingers have to go. It's pretty much there. It's there in your muscle memory, right?
Hmm.
And they made it that ergonomically
Thought
well.
out. Yeah.
And on top of it, the pure build quality is fabulous, right? It's really
Hmm.
really good. But this guy said, no, it's a Tata, boss. I don't even want to look at the car. I'm like, what's wrong with you? Just go take a look. Right? You don't know. No, no, no. It's a it's a Tata. I'm not looking at it. Right. So I don't
Hmm.
understand that. Like I have a big problem with that. People are not agreed. If you were to go back in time and look at all the Tata vehicles that were manufactured, except for that V1 Indica, which
Hmm.
I wouldn't say it was a bad car, but I suppose the expectation that was set after Maruti sort of ruled the roost,
Hmm.
they expected, I suppose, more from the Indica. That apart, all the other cars, like the newer generations of Indica, were good, right? The
Yeah. Indigo.
Indigo was a very good car, right? If you ask me for a
Yeah.
sedan back then, it was a very people who bought the Indigo
Still
then
very
still have it.
spacious.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. They do.
So
Spacious.
you might call this funny, but the Sumo by itself, right,
Hmm.
was a fun car to drive. Yeah,
Fun
it
car to
wasn't
drive.
a bad car.
Yeah.
It by no
Yeah.
stretch of imagination was a bad car.
It was
It
the
had
people's choice carrier. I mean, it was everywhere. Everywhere you went, it was a Tata
everywhere,
Sumo.
right? It was everywhere. I mean, after the Tavera,
No,
the
no. It
Tavera
was
famous
came
Tavera.
later.
no. So
Tavera
first the
came later.
callers came. The callers came into the market.
Yeah.
They
Oh,
sort of
sorry.
they took over the market. The reason
Call.
why my funda is the reason why Sumo sort of didn't do. When I said didn't do well, they actually did really well commercially
Hmm.
speaking. But
Yes,
it
yes.
wasn't really appealing to a general public, is because then you didn't have the seatbelt rule, right? And Sumo by design had the
Yeah.
nose down always. So every time you brake, right, chances
You
are
went.
people are going right in front of that. So I guess that is one of the biggest points that worked against the Sumo. But then if
So
you
it
look
worked,
at their, huh?
worked very well because in the cabs, there were a lot of cute chicks, right? So you could literally go and fall, and it worked well
Yeah.
while taxi was
Are you
happening.
a cab driver?
No, but I was in a cab. No, I was a cab passenger.
So you were falling on the chicks.
No, yeah, their help, you swerve and sway like that,
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
And actually, if you look at it, even the Estate and the Sierra were not really bad, right? Unfortunately,
yeah.
the timing
Yeah,
was
they were
not
just
good,
ahead of its time.
ahead of its time. Yeah.
Yeah.
just like the Opel Vectra that we always,
Oh
yearned
yeah,
and lusted.
Oh, I love that car, man.
Opel Vectra,
The Opel Vectra, the Ford Mondeo.
Ford
Uh,
Mondeo. Yeah, I know. Way
All
too
cars
early.
ahead of its times, man.
yeah, even the Cielo, the
Yeah,
Daewoo
Daewoo
Cielo.
Cielo.
Actually, it was
Daewoo
way ahead of
Marquis.
its time
No,
if you
I
were to
had the
look at
Cielo,
it.
by the
I
way.
had the Cielo, yeah.
Oh,
I had the
nice.
Cielo too, yeah. It is.
Hey, so moving on to sedans, if you were to we talked about SUVs, but if you were to go on a long drive, and assuming you didn't have, rubbish roads and decent roads, nice windy roads,
Mm.
whatever, which sedan, yeah, let's pick a sedan. Which one would you go for?
None. I would ditch the boot. I don't like the boot. I would quietly go and get myself a sporty hatchback. I'd do a Polo, do a TSI, or
We'll come to hatchbacks. I'm asking sedan.
I don't like sedans. Yeah, somehow I've grown over sedans.
So
But yeah, if I don't know. Mono, I'll leave it to you. I'll think. Meanwhile,
I've I think I have had 6 to 7 cars till now, and all of them were sedans except for the first one. Uh, Technology has got much better now. Like I love my Jetta. It's a beautiful car. I hope it doesn't get offended. But if I had to take a, if
It
I
is
had
a
to,
great car, the Jetta. Yeah.
but if I had to take a sedan out, I would still take the Icon 1.6, the Rockham
Rockham.
engine. Yeah, the Rockham
Ah,
engine. I think that car had something
yeah.
in it. Like
The
it
Josh
was
machine.
yeah, it is called the Josh machine. Like, yeah, I don't really agree with the branding it got, but he
Yeah.
the
it
the
was Narayan
pure
Karthikeyan, man. Come on.
huh?
It was
Sorry.
Narayan Karthikeyan driving the car.
Yeah.
Our
No,
first
no.
F1 boy.
It.
Wow.
I think the reason I like that car is because it is a driver's car. It had that kind of torque. The car would, you know, it would speak to you. If I'm making sense,
But
right?
that's something about Ford, though. The Ford cars are very driver oriented.
Driver oriented.
And yeah.
Completely agree with you.
Actually, so in fact, fun fact, when Ford brought out this car, the Icon, they had a competition to name the car or to give it a tagline.
Mm.
And so I participated in that
Oh,
competition. I don't know if
really?
you remember this, Ritesh. Unfortunately, I didn't give it the name, the Josh Machine, but I came in second.
Oh,
I don't
nice.
remember what. Yeah, I came in second. So in fact, I got some measly. I think the first prize was you win a car. Second prize was some measly dinner somewhere in Oberoi. Do you remember this? I took Prerna for dinner once there.
So
That was because I
what
won
is your
this.
tagline?
I forgot. Yeah,
Come on, man. You won the
yeah, I know.
second prize.
Yeah, I know. I was hoping I'll get the first, but no. Yeah, something. Anyway,
What was your line, by the way?
He doesn't remember.
I don't remember.
I don't remember.
Don't remember. 25 years ago or something. I don't
So,
know.
funny. Shit, man, I need to shave my beard or trim it. I look like a bunny smiling. Look at that. Sorry, didn't mean to digress. So then,
Oh, yeah.
so we were coming back from Kerala once. I think uh, wife and I were sitting behind. My father-in-law said he wanted to drive or something like that, so he drove. And in the Icon, right? So with great difficulty, I let him drive. So he drove from I think Cochin, and normally, I did a full tank in Cochin, and I know the next time I would have to fill fuel is in Dharmapuri, right? And then come Salem, we ran out of fuel. Like it's never happened, right? I'm like, uncle, what happened? He was like, I'm sure there is a problem with the petrol. That guy cheated us. I said, Kerala. I'm not saying there are no cheats in Kerala, but I doubt if they do something like that because it's one of those places that the whole town recognizes it's a place to go if you want to get good fuel types. So I know that it's it can't be the fuel. Something happened. And no. It's definitely fuel. He wouldn't have checked the meter when he was filling in. So anyway, so I went and got fuel, filled up, filled up the tank with I think 5 liters or something like that. I had to drive back. And as I was driving, he's sitting next to me, and then he looks at me. He's like, "Oh, that's a fifth gear." I'm like, really?
The first time overdrive was introduced.
You drove a good 210 kilometers, not there's a fifth gear, and you're blaming that petrol pump fellow. Right? Because that car was like that, right? So even I remember in your fourth gear, you could start off as low as like some 10-20 kilometers an hour, and you can go up all the way to 110 120 kilometers, right?
Yeah.
So that range is like that. So I love the car. Yeah, sorry, that's my answer. Long.
So your answer is the Icon.
The Icon
Okay.
1.6 that I mentioned. Yeah.
Okay. So Ritesh, have you had some thought?
No, I'm still thinking.
So
I don't like sedans.
You don't like
I'll leave it to
sedans?
you.
Yeah, I've owned about I've owned about 10, 12 cars at least. The cars in India, I think the ones um, that I've enjoyed driving, at least has been, definitely the German cars. So we had a Vento, and I realized, they bring in that fun to drive element in a lot of the cars. BMWs are known for that. Enjoyed those cars because they're all designed around the driver in the entire cockpit and everything. So when you came
Everything
to
angled
India,
at you.
yeah,
Everything is angled at you. Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember I'd taken. So we lived in the UK. I had a 3 Series there, and I was buying a new 3 Series, and it had come in. I took it for the first. No, I went to the dealer and I said, okay, do I need to drive it in, or be a little careful with it for the first few thousand miles? He said, no, just it's a BMW. Just trash it. That's what it's designed to do. And I was like, oh, okay, so I'll trash it then. And it was a lovely car. I mean, they're designed to just take a beating. That's how robustly they were built. But even coming back here, drove a Vento, and I remember my father-in-law, he borrowed a Vento and he drove from Bangalore to Tuticorin. I think that's when he realized what he was missing out on a good car. And then he promptly went and bought a BMW later after that. But just, I think if I were to say the cars I've had, probably the Vento. I currently have an Elantra, and I still feel the Vento gave me more fun and more.
The new Elantra or the old one?
The old one. I have the Neo, the 2006, 17 Elantra. That's really good. It's a very low car, well spaced out, huge wheelbase. It just hugs the road when you're on the highway. It's a great car, but I think there's something about the extra torque that was there in the Vento. You just really felt like had a bit more oomph. But personally, if I had the money or unlimited budgets, that are available in India, I would pick the 5 Series, the 550i. I mean, that's like a V8 engine, 450.
That's what Raghu's got.
The 550i.
It's petrol, right? It's a petrol.
Yeah.
Yeah, twin turbo.
Twin turbo.
Yeah, I think that's what
V8. Got. Yeah.
Yeah, he keeps talking about.
Beautiful car.
Yeah, unfortunately, now his car is reduced to a very expensive paperweight. I think his rotors are gone, and he's trying to figure out where to get the rotors from. So BMW owners, be careful.
Really?
Yeah. There is a shortage.
Yeah. No, so that's the. I mean, if you can buy an M5, that's the next best alternative, and it's pretty much I think half the price of an M5.
Yeah,
But yeah, yeah, but I mean, of course, expenses will be a bomb, at least if you're in India. So,
It is quite an expensive car to maintain. So I had a neighbor who had, I think, the 5 Series. I don't remember which one. It was a diesel. I know only that.
hmm.
Uh, his car was, I think, stationary for a very long time. He didn't use it. It is, I think, about 4 years
Hmm.
old now, or 3 years old now. And I think after a good 7 or 8 months, he took it out for a spin, and something burnt in the car. So we haven't really got to the root of why it burnt. It could be
Okay,
rats, so rat must have chewed up some part or something like that.
electrical, yeah.
Electrical, yeah. But when he brought it back and he said, I have to give it, I have to get it fixed. So they came, pick up the car. It's just out of AMC. The bill is about 45 grand or 50 grand to fix, an 8-inch wiring inside. And I was like, bugger, people buy scooters for that rate, man.
if you put
Yeah.
another 25K, you can buy a 60/40 plot also somewhere in the outskirts.
Somewhere, actually.
No, but again, you can't drive a plot, can you?
No, you can't.
Can't have a plot.
Drive a plot.
Be buried in one. That's about. That's how much you pay to bury yourself. But yeah,
With the car, if you will.
well, that's stretching it a bit.
No, you
But
can
it's
look.
good.
Yeah, for 60 grand, you're not going to get a plot.
No,
You get
not
it.
in. Of course, you will. You will get it. I think. About 90 kilometers south of Bangalore. Once you enter Tamil Nadu, sure you'll get.
Once will go.
Huh?
So throw in along with it. So I just realized that the only sedan that I have owned so far has
It's
been the
1.8.
Icon.
Yeah, 1.8.
Yep.
You
Yeah.
owned a 1.8. Okay.
1.8. I have the diesel. I've somehow been a diesel guy. I don't care too much about the initial acceleration, but yeah, I like the low end torque because you drive so much in the city. Right?
Hmm.
You're constantly
Yeah.
driving. To buy vegetables, you're driving these days,
Yeah.
or even
Yeah.
those days. Right? So you're
So,
constantly. So
so talking about buying vegetables, what's the hatchback you guys will? Since Ritesh doesn't have an answer for the sedan that he would use. So if you're going on a long drive, what hatchback are you going to use?
me, I think I'll get the Polo GT.
GT
Without-
Polo. Why? I would go for the GTI, not the GT. The GT is a sellout. It's just marketing. Go for the original GTI. 190
Then,
bhp.
then I'd rather go for the not the Polo. What is it? The Golf.
Yeah, but golf you don't get in India. At least GTI was sold in India at one point.
GTI two door. Yeah. See, I actually drove the GTI. Delhi
Yeah.
to Chandigarh. Delhi to Chandigarh. Drive and
Wow.
came. Fabulous. Okay. Fabulous car. Fabulous car. But again, right? I think a little overpriced.
Way overpriced. This is a cheap car in the UK. It's like entry level.
Yeah.
Correct.
I'm buying a
I
Maruti 800.
The,
I don't know why they price it like that.
exactly.
TSI,
I don't get it.
yeah, the GT TSI is just as peppy, man. Right? You may probably
Yeah.
use out. Okay, talking about let's say 0 to 100 in 7 seconds versus say about 8.5 seconds, right?
Yeah.
8.5 seconds don't really.
Doesn't matter. Yeah. So I had the initial 1.2
And it takes photos, right? It keeps the wife happy,
photos.
keeps everybody else happy. 2 doors. Ask your wife. She'll be very happy sitting behind the GT. The
So
GT.
I had the basic the initial petrol. It was about a 70 or 75 bhp petrol Polo back in the day, first launched. And I
Hmm.
remember doing Bangalore to Chennai fully loaded, six of us in the car, and we're doing 140, and it's so
Planting.
effortlessly
Absolutely.
just easy to drive, overtaking, and I was like, man, this is fun. You don't even realize how fast you're going.
Yeah.
That is the
And
hatch.
yeah,
That is the hatch that makes you feel safe. Not like
yeah,
your Marutis where you really feel like you're floating on air.
yeah.
And God forbid if you lower the window when you're trying to drive on the highway, it will knock you off the road, man. It's that
No,
nice.
it's a Maruti and all. There's a story behind it. No, when they designed the car, They wanted to make it a small car, like the Suzuki 800 was a popular one in Japan, if I'm not mistaken, and they wanted to replicate it. So somebody said, listen, you really need to think of, and they wanted to make the car light because fuel economy and things like that
Correct.
for the Indian market. So someone came and said, you really need to think about aerodynamics. And guys turned around and said, why? Nobody's going to go that fast in India. We just need a car that goes from point A to point B and back, right? And today, if you take the car in a Maruti 800, like, I'm not talking about the old design. The first design of 800 that came out, I think that was fabulous because they just did a copy paste. But then when they started making it here, they
Yeah.
they fiddled
They
around
ruined
with
it.
it so much, for the lack of a better word.
Progressively started ruining it with every
Sorry.
passing
Yeah.
design.
Yeah.
Have you seen
Yeah.
the current Maruti 800? Whatever that ugly thing looks like.
Oh, Jesus, don't.
You should see it. You don't
it's,
even know.
it's
Horrible.
something my grandfather would have used to keep in his paddy fields to scare animals away.
No, I still think better than the espresso. I
Sorry,
still think the car is better than the espresso.
you think it's better than the espresso?
It will be better
Yeah,
than the espresso
there's no doubt about that. Any car is better than the espresso.
because car comes with its limitation, right? They don't claim it to be something else. It's an entry level car, boss. You've been riding a Lambretta scooter. You've been
Okay,
riding Bajaj Chetak.
espresso content for another day. Let's that needs a different segment altogether. So the key
But if
takeaway is we need one on how do we revive the Tata brand? Why aren't people buying Tata cars? That's
just,
another
just
one.
just 1 second there, Sirish. Sorry. Here, can you see the screen?
blacks, yeah,
That is the new Maruti 800.
Oh no! I'm talking about the old one. This looks better. I mean, this is
Really?
much better
It
than.
looks better. I don't think so.
I mean, it looks much better than the earlier one. Come on, go back.
This
I like
this is the old one.
No.
Which one are you
Look
talking
at
about?
you're looking at some render. Some
this is render,
idiot
not
has
the
done.
real.
No,
You
no,
Just
this
must
is
type
the new one.
Maruti 800. Just type Maruti 800. Take away new. It'll be closer to the blue one.
Which one are
Or
you
just
talking about?
type 2020 or
2020.
2019. Have they stopped producing?
I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, the green one. There you go.
This one. That's an
Oh,
Alto.
this. I mean, it's the 810. No, it's the 800, right?
No,
No,
it's
Oh,
this is the
sorry.
Alto.
called the K10 now. No,
Yeah,
Okay,
it's called
yeah,
the
the
Alto.
8K.
So the
Yeah,
Alto
you're
is
right.
better than Espresso any day.
yeah. Dude, since you're anyways doing it, hit the new Sierra, which Tata plans to launch, which is going to be the electric version. It looks really nice.
It'll take forever, man. It's just to keep people on the hook. It looks like a toy car.
Yeah,
Could have done better wheels or something. I don't know.
one said no. By the time it comes to the road, it'll be something else.
I
That's
don't
true.
know if I like the car too much. At least not in this angle. Let's see when it comes
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
If,
Okay, I have a. So we've talked about SUVs, we talked about saloons, we talked about hatchback.
So you
There's,
haven't told
there's
which hatch. So you also would choose the
for me, it's clear the GTI, the
GTI.
Polo GTI. I mean, I've had the Polo. I've not had the Polo GTI, but that is,
Two-door.
you know, who cares about 4 doors, man?
Yeah.
A wife who won't get into the 2 doors not a wife worth having.
And mono which car would it be?
My wife is not hearing me, so that's fine.
Your wife is not
Uh,
around.
she's not around. I'm safe and secure in my room. So, and she's not going to watch this video, so that's fine.
Yeah.
But
I would. I'm a little old school. I like the Santro, the old Santro.
oh, the bug.
The bug. It is. It's fun to. I don't know how to explain
Yeah.
this, but
We have a story, okay, on the Santro. Sirish had a green one, and his
Yeah.
car was the pickup route. So we used to all stand at strategic points, and chicks used to pick up some 2-3 people and and drop us off to college. So he had a green, the first green Santro, the first model.
The dark green.
Dark
Yeah.
Lovely car.
And that was called the bug. Yeah. It's a decent
I mean,
car.
I remember, like, I've done I've done Hyderabad, Srisailam, Hyderabad, Pune, the car, and it's fun to drive. Like you said, loaded. Obviously, not anywhere. I can't compare it with the new age hatchbacks, right? But if
Yeah.
you were to go back, I still prefer the Santro. It's just fun to drive.
That's why we've done Coorg, okay, in the 800
Mm.
at one point in time. And if you go, a little further back, remember the Premier Padminis
Oh,
in those days.
Yeah.
We've done in Premier Padminis also. Every 70 kilometers, you had to stop and open the radiator. You used to be boiling
Cool it.
and wait.
So
Like
it's
a
a
proper
it's an
picnic.
event. Yeah, it's an
Yeah.
event. It's a. I
yeah.
mean, it's something that
Stop.
our kids will never know.
So
Right?
I had an uncle. Okay, he had a Padmini, and he would drive fast. Whatever, back in the day, we'd all go on picnics together like this in Nandi Hills.
I think we
So one
lost
of these.
Ritesh. Ritesh, you still
Oh,
there?
okay.
Yeah. Here, it's 1 second. Huh?
Yeah.
Oh,
So one of these days, he was belting around the thing. He didn't see there was a railway crossing. He was flying across the railway crossing, and all four tires burst.
shit.
Have you ever heard of that? All four tires bursting. He went so fast over the railway crossing,
Shit.
speed
That's
breaker,
scary.
whatever. And that is the scariest, Premier Padmini. And
That is, yeah. But I like the whole hand gear.
yeah,
Um, it's a
yeah.
one of those. My dad, obviously my dad's car. I used to sneak out in it without telling him. So we had to roll the car out first and then start it somewhere so that he doesn't hear and all that. It is fun. It's a good car to have fun in, at least for us.
That was the only
Nice.
car available.
No, man.
We had.
We had uh, yeah, we had
The
a few
Zen
cars around the night.
was the
No,
Premier Padmini 1100, the NE 118.
any 118 was the car of my dreams at one point.
That was, I think, had the best transmission that I've had.
Oh, yeah,
It was butter.
yeah, yeah,
At that time, I'm talking
100%. And that,
90.
yes.
The NE had, the transmission was butter.
Yeah,
It
it
was
is a
easily smooth.
beautiful car. It's a beautiful car. Planted. We used to do Hyderabad, Bangalore, and that my dad and I. Oh, planted.
Hey, hold
Okay,
on.
Bacha. So now I have a question for you. Okay, what do you think makes a good road trip buddy?
Get the tea and come.
A non-existent one.
You don't want buddies. You don't drive alone all the time.
I I think road trips are best enjoyed with like-minded people,
Correct.
right?
So this question,
So
it just popped into my head, and then I realized that it's actually a rhetoric question. Because honestly, I figured that in Goa, when we recently gone to Goa, so we rented a car there. Okay, we rented a Innova,
Innova.
brilliant car.
Which one? The
So
new one,
No,
Christoph.
no,
it looks like the Crystal. Man, oh, this is a
it
cool.
didn't. Yeah, it didn't look like the Krista. It looked like a newer generation Innova, and I think it was some 2009 model or something. He got
Okay.
conned basically.
Okay, so car was brilliant. It was like driving like an old Safari, right? So you steering input, wait for a while, say a prayer, and it kind of turns or it stops or whatever. It's
It's
fun.
not that bad. Come on.
No, this particular car was.
Uh,
Okay. So see, it was a rental car. No. So we had multiple people coming to Goa. And first of all, when people are in Goa, they think they're liberated for life, right? They can do any shit works, any shit goes. They would have probably driven like that. Then we realized, that's something Mono and we both realized that it's not a good idea ever to share a car, right? Because one person has to ride shotgun.
and it sucks for that person.
And we hate it, right? No matter how bad the car, you want to be driving it.
Yeah.
So,
And that's exactly why I said it should be a non-existent one.
correct.
Yeah.
Because if you have like-minded people with you, chances are that you'll end up sharing the wheel, right?
Correct.
I can't do
And
that.
and then you're looking at the watch. Oh, it's been 1 hour. It's my turn now. It's been no. And then the worst part is which part of the road you get also. Oh shit, man! He got the highway.
I got stuck in traffic.
No.
So this
Yeah.
bugger, no, this guy Monu, when we reached Goa, he made friends with a few ants. Okay, those big nasty variety, the biters. He made friends with them and set one on me. The bugger actually, bit me in the sole of my foot. It was swollen, man. It looked like I had elephantiasis or something for a while. And the bugger had the car for one full day. I couldn't even touch any pedal with that. I had to hobble and sit. Okay. Second day, he tried the same shit, but I bit my hand. So I still managed to drive. And they only kept biting me. Huh? So I'm sure this fellow stood up to one of the ants there and said, "Bye, I'm going to buy you some good fenny or some shit like that. Go on ants." No, they said, yeah, it's a deal. Tell me point direction and show me whom to bite. So that guy, the bald guy, didn't bite. Bit me. So yeah.
Okay.